Did you know that in Orange County, you don't always need to hire a lawyer exclusively to get help with your legal issue? On this episode of The Domino Effect, we're taking a closer look at how the Orange County Clerk of Courts is helping people represent themselves through an innovative program called the Self-Help Center. We'll hear from the Honorable Tiffany Russell Esquire about how this center is making justice more accessible than ever. This is The Domino Effect, where we discuss the intersection of our community's top social issues with the legal challenges impacting us all. I'm your host, Jessica Thomas. Legal problems can arise at any time, and not everyone can afford an attorney. That's where the Self-Help Center comes in. Clerk of Courts, the Honorable Tiffany Russell Esquire, joins us now to tell us how the center is helping Orange County residents find their way through the legal system. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Clerk of Court. Now, some of our viewership, they are not going to even know what that means. What is it?
So the clerk, per our Constitution, is the official keeper of the court record. And so we are the collector of all fines and fees in the state of Florida. So that is a traffic citation, or if you have to pay a filing fee to navigate the court system. So we are responsible for those fines and fees. And then we accurately keep what happens in a courtroom. You know, you see your judge, but there's actually a clerk sitting right next to that judge who is capturing motions, how the judge chose to rule, whether evidence is being admitted, to make sure that the record is as accurate as possible for lawyers like yourself to be able to know what happened in that courtroom.
Now, do we have just you as the clerk? Are you in the courtroom? Is that what the clerk?
No, so I am the clerk of court, but Orange County has about 400 employees. And we have what we call trial clerks. Trial clerks are who you're going to see in the courtroom. They are trained to specifically work with our judges. They kind of know what's happening, whether it's a criminal case type or a civil case type. So we have what we call trial clerks, and we also have deputy clerks who are behind the scenes. Those are the employees who are docketing cases through the portal, redacting sensitive case-sensitive information about a plaintiff or a defendant. And so that's what consists of all of our employees.
Now clerks, they're who we see when you come into the courthouse and you pay that fine. Are they lawyers?
They are not lawyers. So you don't have to have a law degree. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree to come work at the clerk's office. But we do want someone who has attention to detail and who's passionate about serving the public. But there are employees, graduates of our public school system, graduates of UCF or Valencia, who come to work with us.
Now you said as someone who has attention to detail. Mm-hmm. Now, are they helping with the forms? Is there somewhere that I can get that help for forms?
Absolutely. So when I mention the term attention to detail, I oftentimes tell my employees, when people hear the term clerk, they think secretary. But I'm going to give you some examples where details matter in the justice system. And so if I have a trial clerk sitting in a criminal courtroom and the judge has just convicted this person to 60 months and she typed 60 days, that makes a big difference, right?
So
or if I have a clerk in the child support office and a father has paid their child support payment, but they didn't denote that in the case maintenance system, and now there's a bench warrant for that father who is now driving, gets arrested, loses their job because they have gotten arrested for driving on a suspended license. Those clerks are responsible for making sure they have very good data, that they're paying attention to what they're doing, because any mistake can have a drastic impact on someone's life. But to the public, we do have clerks who work in our self-help center. And they are there to help with form assistance, helping to navigate. They've received this eviction complaint, right? And they're trying to figure out, how do I respond? Do I put payment in the registry? We do have clerks who work in the self-help center who are specifically selected, who have what we call a little bit more patience. They know how to work with customers. They have a very high rating when it comes to customer service. We want those clerks in the self-help center because they require more time, more attention to detail, more hand-holding for those customers that come to the self-help center.
Now, when we say the self-help center, now I know that this is your baby.
Yes.
This is your brainchild. This was such an innovation. I would say statewide, nationally. Tell us, what is the Self-Help Center and why did you create it?
So I'll start with the why. So I'm a lawyer by training, and prior to serving into public office, I worked for legal services, community legal services of Mid-Florida. And I saw how representing people who are poor, who are not who don't know how to navigate the justice system, right? And there's also be people who are not poor, right? Only people who have law degrees know how to navigate the justice system. And so I saw that people need help, and they need help at one of the most stressful times in their lives, right? You're facing eviction or you're facing a divorce. I don't know what this legalese, these legal terms mean. So that was the one reason when I said, if I become the clerk, I want to create this self-help center, but it also protects the employees, because we're not allowed to practice law if you're not a lawyer, right? But most of our clerks probably could tell you what to do, right?
Yes.
They've been here 20, 15 years, but they cannot give legal advice. And so the self-help center was a great way for customers to get those questions answered, but to also protect my employees from avoiding answering those questions. So the self-help center is aware for customers, they can see an attorney, get an attorney consultation, but also they can get help with forms. They can even get on our computers and file through the portal, or look up LexisNexis if they need some assistance. So that is the self-help centers that really help address what we call access to justice challenges in the state of Florida.
Now, the center itself, is that a freestanding building? Where is it?
So it's located at the downtown courthouse, as well as we just recently opened a branch at the Winter Park branch. And so we're on the 3rd floor in the downtown courthouse on Orange Avenue. So it's an office within the downtown courthouse. I'm fully staffed with 4 clerks and an assistant manager. And they also have a private office space for the attorneys who come in to do the legal consultations.
Now, I have had the pleasure of being a volunteer attorney there, and it is so needed. How did you know? And this goes a little bit into your why. How did you know that so many people, we are booked. Every time I volunteer there from 8 to 4, booked. People need that help, and it's so affordable and accessible. How did you come up with that? How did you know it was needed?
So we know the Florida Bar and the American Bar Association has studies on the need for access to justice and self-help services. And so when I became the clerk, I was also afforded the opportunity to serve on that commission that was commissioned by the Florida Supreme Court at the time. So there's numerous data that talk about the majority of society will never be able to afford an attorney. There is so much data out there, right? And so, because you have legal aid and legal services for those who are considered legally poor by federal poverty guidelines, but it's the rest of that 80%, right? That's that teacher who does not have $5,000 to put a retainer down, right? Or that firefighter, or that law enforcement officer. And so there's data that show there is a need, right? And people don't know they need that service until they're in that legal binding situation. So we knew there was a need. When I first got elected, I went to visit Palm Beach County, who has a very robust self-help center. I visited Miami-Dade and Pinellas County. And so I went to visit those, and that's when I learned about their partnership with their local bar association. And so I'm very big about I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can see why I can cultivate it just for my county and make it work for me. And so that's kind of what I did. Work with our Orange County Bar Association is a great partner to have, and they were eager to join us in the effort and make sure we weren't competing with legal aid or legal services, but this was a niche for those people who wouldn't qualify for those services anyway, right? And so that's what we saw the need.
Now, at the self-help center, is there a particular area of law that I can get help with, or can I get help with anything?
So we help with family law matters, except for domestic violence injunctions because of our partnership with Harper House. We were also located in the courthouse. So, but divorce, child support, custody type issues, you can come get assistance for, residential landlord evictions, and small claims matters. You're in a dispute with your roofer, you can come see us with those kind of case types.
Small claims means what for our viewers?
Small claims is you're in a dispute with your lawn maintenance. They performed a service and you weren't pleased with her. You paid and didn't get a service, and you want to sue them for that small claims action. That's what's considered a small claims matter. Or you have a contractual dispute with a certain threshold, financial threshold that you cannot exceed. So that is what we would consider a small claim. So no, not a mortgage foreclosure case, not you're suing over millions of dollars. No. We're talking about small claims, $10,000, $15,000 disputes. You can see and get assistance for.
And now, can they book these appointments online? Do they need to come in person? How do they get it?
So the best thing is to visit our website at myorangeclerk.com, where you can go to the Self-Help Center page and you can schedule an appointment. We all know that downtown Orlando is daunting. Traffic, parking, you got to pay for parking, you got to go through security. So we would encourage you all to check out our website and know before you go. Check it out before you come downtown, because you can schedule an appointment to see that lawyer in person, or now, since COVID, virtual. You can now schedule a virtualist appointment to see an attorney.
Thank you so much for all this great information. We'll take a break and have even more.
Thank you for having me.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors. We'll be right back with more of the Domino Effect.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
We've learned what the Self-Help Center offers, but now let's look at who it helps and how it's making a difference in the community. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
So when we talk about the who, you mentioned some of the areas of law and that it can be, those people who really are in the middle. Are you seeing a particular area of law kind of come to the forefront as who really needs help the most?
So our largest case type is family law, right? We are seeing a lot of questions around custody. There's a lot of what we call grandparents who are taking care of their grandchildren. And you as a family law attorney, there's people have those questions about how to get them enrolled in school. So we see a lot of that. We see a lot of divorce. So family law is the largest request for services.
And then the types of people who are coming, is it people from all demographics? Is it all walks of life?
It's all walks of life. It's, we don't take, information such as income or any of that because it doesn't matter to us, right? But we're seeing all the reflection of all of Orange County, where no matter most of the majority, a large volume is from the east side. We see a large, because we do look at zip codes, where are they coming from, determine whether we should have a small self-help somewhere else in the county. But yeah, we see all race, professions. We don't choose between spouses. If a spouse one comes on Monday, spouse two can come on Wednesday. So we don't select who can receive the services. So it's a very diverse population that we're serving.
Now you brought up a good point about being able to see with the zip codes. Can anyone come? Let's say I'm from Miami and I don't want to go to the Dade County. I want to come to Orange County Self-Help Center. Is there a prohibition against
that? No, we don't turn them away.
Nice.
Because if they want to talk to an attorney, the attorney will answer their questions because we don't allow the attorneys to represent them. Mm-hmm. So it's just to get them to answer their questions, and we just want them to be more informed when they leave us to be able to navigate whatever legal matters they're addressing.
Now, you brought up a great point as a volunteer. I think that bears repeating. When we talk about the people who come, sometimes there is that cloud of confusion of like, oh, well, you'll go with me, right? No,
it's not allowed.
There we go.
It's not allowed. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have a partnership with the Orange County Bar Association, and so the attorneys who are members of the Orange County Bar Association can apply to serve as part of the attorney pool that come in and provide those services. As I mentioned, it's $1 a minute, but you cannot. This is not a place where you think you're going to build your practice. Right? Because we don't want to make customers feel as though this is a lawyer provided by the clerk's office. That's not what this is. This is to really help them navigate, answer quick questions. Do I pay in the registry or not? Will it keep me from being evicted? Those kind of questions. And so they can be more informed on how to even address the judge when they get into that hearing, right? What do you say? Help them understand the decorum in a courtroom and how to manage a hearing. But it is not meant for a lawyer to build their practice. And we've had cases where we've let that lawyer go because they were trying to get clients, and that's not the purpose of the Self-Help Center.
I appreciate you saying that. And so, because a lot of times it is those people, they really do just need genuine, no ulterior motive help. Yeah. Now, when you talk about people coming for help, I think you hit a great point of sometimes litigation help and what to expect. Can they keep coming back? Is there, a penalty? Can I come every day?
You can come as long as so it's $1 a minute, 60-minute increment max for that day, but you can come back. People don't know what issues may arise in their lives. And so we don't have a limit on how many times you can come visit us. Again, because we're just here to provide a service. We're trying to help people. And so we don't limit how many times they can visit the Self-Help Center.
Now, you put up a good point about providing service. Service is who you are. Tell people a little bit about yourself as far as that initial service. I think when I first met you, you were already a commissioner. Okay. And service is just who you are. Tell us about that service.
So I'm a native of Orange County. I grew up in Tangelo Park, and what I've learned is that having a law degree gives you a special gift, right? You can help people who don't know how to navigate some of the matters that they're facing. And so my experience as a commissioner, my experience as an attorney for legal services taught me that oftentimes people's experience with government can be extremely challenging, and they don't have a good story to tell you, right? And so when I was elected as clerk, I told my employees, we will not be the obstacle for people. We will not be their stumbling block, right? Because oftentimes you will hear, that's not my job. And we'll send someone down the street, around the corner, for them to still ultimately have to come back to your building. And so I train my employees on customer service, because if you have the answer, even if it's not your job, answer the question. And I'm very passionate about that, because think about it. You could be facing eviction with 3 kids in tow. Don't send me around the entire downtown Orlando when you could tell me my answer is over at the federal courthouse, or my answer is at the federal building at Social Security. Answer that question for them. And so I believe when we say we're public servants, we're here to serve the people and provide the best services we can, and not be a stumbling block for them, but to really be a stepping stone for them.
Wow. Now, the service that you chose in the clerk, that's not where it stops. Aren't you even more involved with changing kind of the trajectory for clerks across the state? How is that, and what is that? What's going on?
I currently have the privilege of serving as the president of the Florida Clerks and Comptrollers Association, and it's great to be able to represent all 68 clerks and comptrollers. And we have 68 because Phil Diamond in Orange County is our elected comptroller. So it's great because I get to help draft or direct our statewide issues, what's important to us, making sure that we are funding a priority for our courts and the clerk's office, whether it's adequate funding for jury services, making sure that we are funding the clerks to be able to support a constitutionally bound service, which is to serve on the jury, right? Or just making sure we have a stable funding source for clerks, because we believe that we are the hub of the justice system, because everybody needs the information that we have, right? But making sure that clerks are pushing and moving forward when it comes to cybersecurity, because we ultimately are the keeper of the court record. And when I first started practicing law, files was locked in a cabinet. But today in 2025, the files are on the cloud. And we all know what's now is happening. People are phishing, ransomware, trying to get our data. And so I have the privilege of representing all of the clerks to make sure we're advancing our mission, that we're now the digital keeper of the court record, right? And so it's joy to work with clerks and to lead this initiative for 1 year. It's a 1-year term.
Wow. Now, when you talk about the clerks and them answering some of the questions, what would you say when you're getting the feedback from your clerks is one of the greatest challenges kind of facing our public legally?
I think it's oftentimes the public they don't know what we really do, or what's, because, a lot of our job is behind the scenes, and they don't know how we benefit the ultimate public, right? And a lot of the clerks are also the comptroller for the county. So they are the investing authority, or they're the HR directors for their counties. They are the payroll director for their counties. And so oftentimes it's making sure that people actually know what we do. And so one of my initiatives for presidency is to get in the game and make sure that we are elevating the brand of clerks, so that we can tell people that we are a 200-year entity in the state of Florida, and that we should be telling our story and not everyone else telling us what they think we do.
Wow, 200?
Yes.
Wow.
When Florida was created, you had a clerk, you had a judge, and you had the sheriff.
That's kind of incredible. That's kind of incredible. Now, you mentioned that you all had just opened a Winter Park area. Are those the only 2 self-help centers?
Post-COVID, we have a virtual platform. So we don't offer it anywhere else but up downtown in Winter Park.
And you mentioned the website, but can they sign up in person if they want it?
Yes, absolutely. They can come in, and if there's no, if we have openings, we'll see them right then, right? But if they're not, they can make that appointment in the office.
Wow. Now, the forms, do they cost money, or are they free?
They're not free, because now there's 2 ways you can get forms. You can always visit the Florida Supreme Court website and get access to forms. But our forms, we curate them, because we've learned if you are divorced with no kids and no property, you need these forms. And so it now has some little intention behind putting those packets together. So they have a cost. Some range based upon how many packets. They range from $5 to up to $20. Just depends on the case type and the type of form packet that you're looking for.
Thank you so much for this incredible information. We've got to continue this conversation.
Yes, I'm having a great time with you today.
We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned for more insights.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
In our final segment, we're talking about what's next. Clerk Russell's office continues to lead with innovation, and we're excited to hear what's on the horizon. Wow, I can't even imagine what's next for the incredible work you've done in such a short period of time. How long have you been clerk?
Since 2014.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. What's next?
So we're looking for ways to continue to innovate our services. We're looking for ways to be responsive to the needs of our customers. So, and it's some things that people may not realize, but it's little things like expanding how they pay, right? Adding Apple and Google Pay, right? Making it easier. We want to get to a point where we can start text notifying customers, right, with our payment plans, because we know that that's an issue important to our legislature to make sure people have all their driving privileges. And so we want them to stay in good privilege, but if they don't make their payments, they get suspended again. So those are we're using technology to make sure we can continue to be first-class customer service to our citizens. So those are things we're looking at in the future to make sure we're providing exceptional services.
And now these services, I know we touched on it, but just how can I get to the services? In person, virtual, what are my options?
So you have a lot of options, several ways to contact the clerk's office. Of course, one is coming to any branch, coming to the downtown courthouse. But we also encourage you to go to the website, which is myorangeclerk.com. And that is where you will find a plethora of information. You will have access to all the different case types, how to contact those divisions. We also have a YouTube page where you can find all of our old legal forms that you've participated in. We also have recorded even some videos on the foreclosure process, the eviction process. And so we do have a YouTube channel that people can get legal information on. And so that's a great way for them to get information as well. And so we encourage people to visit our website. They can look at our office hours, our times, as well as any updated information. They can also follow us on social media. We're on every social media platform, and we also have a newsletter. So we encourage people to log in to get our newsletter to make sure they can get updates from us about whether it's a new law change. We want people to understand the new changes in law. And so those are different ways we want to try to touch our customers. And then we do our annual report to citizens about how well the clerk office did the previous year. And so those are different ways for customer contact.
Wow. Are you tired?
Yeah.
That is a lot. So much.
Well, I don't do it by myself. All right. You heard me say I have 400 great employees who make sure that this machine works smoothly and we'll be able to provide excellent customer service to the citizens of Orange County.
And we touched on that customer service through the Self-Help Center. You mentioned that there's some different locations, Orange County and Winter Park.
We have several branches in Orange County, right? But you can see an attorney at the downtown branch on Orange Avenue and the Winter Park branch. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, when we talk about some of those forums you mentioned, like foreclosure, this feels new. All this information feels new. This is your innovation for the clerk's office, isn't it?
We've been doing forums for a long time since I've been the clerk, and it's part of the Access to Justice initiative. So you heard we talked a lot about the Self-Help Center, but our legal forums are also another way to access justice for customers, right? Because we just pick different topics. We ask our managers, what's the leading issues that you're seeing? What are you hearing out there? What are they coming to see you about that customers are calling about? And so we try to pick those topics around one of those hot topics. And so we ask attorneys, we ask judges in those divisions to provide those forums. So pre-pandemic, we were having them out in the community. But I will actually say the pandemic did a great thing for us, right? Because pre-pandemic, we would go to BitFlow, we would go to Christmas, Apopka, but that means only that community would get that information. Now, with it being virtual, anybody can log on and hear. So it's like we have one coming up on probate and estates and wills. We've had some on child support. We had various topics, and they're evergreen, right? So you can continue to go back and repeat them and see them. They're not based on a specific date or time. And so with having them virtual, it's open to anybody. You can watch it from home, right? You just got home picking up your kids. You don't have to worry about rushing on the 408 to get to a legal forum. Now you can join us virtually, and it's free to the public.
Wow. And when I say new, I mean new. That was never before you became clerk. This is another thing that you've innovated for Orange County.
I think if we have a more informed constituent base, it makes it easier when they have to go into a courtroom and navigate. Yeah, as an attorney, I used to be very difficult to represent one client and the other client's not represented. And you can tell they don't know what they're talking about. It's frustrating. You want to help them, but you're there to represent this particular client. And so I think services like the legal forums and the Self-Help Center, you have a more educated constituent base. And so it makes for the hearing to run more smoothly for everybody involved. And so that's what my ultimate goal is.
Amen to that. It's always good when someone knows that if I say I need your discovery, I'm not trying to trick you. It's just the law.
It's just part of the process.
So it is nice. It's just part of the process. Now, when you get to talk to the judges, which I assume you get to, now that Self-Help Center has been in creation, what is their feedback? Is this helpful to them? Are they happy that you have the Self-Help Center? What's the kind of feedback?
We know it's a win when judges are now saying, I think you should go to the 3rd floor and visit the Self-Help Center, right? Because again, you talk to any judge who's passionate about the people, they have to dismiss this case. They got to dismiss it, but they know this person doesn't know what they're doing. And so we know that we have an advocate in our judiciary. Even now with family court services, we work together, right? Because it just makes for an easier process for the customer overall. Because no one wants to send them back, reject that file, reject that case, make them do it all over again, because it discourages people who want to have to navigate the system. So the judges are a huge champion. We don't get any pushback from the legal community. I think initially they thought it was a threat to their business, but these individuals are not going to hire an attorney anyway. And so we have seen nothing but support from all aspects of the legal community.
Now, when we say the legal community, that's a great segue to your partnership with Legal Aid.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So it's a great partnership because you heard me mention in our earlier segment, Legal Aid, they take their clients based on the federal poverty guidelines. They have very strict restrictions around who they can serve. And so we work together as a partner. Sometimes their lawyers will serve as advice for, and on our panels. We support them through their Breakfast of Champions fundraiser because I'm a believer in what they offer to the public. We also refer to them and they refer to us because there are people they have to turn away. They can refer them to the to the Self-Help Center. And there are people we say, you really should go to Legal Aid. They can help you. And so we have found a great partner in the Legal Aid Society. Several of my staff members work and participate in their different events. So we try to be a huge champion. I'm a member of the Orange County Bar. And so, it's a great partnership there. And I think that's a great thing I want to showcase is collaboration, working together because we're ultimately all trying to serve the citizens of Orange County.
Now, when we talk about the service of Orange County, is the Self-Help Center got different hours than the clerk's office? What are the hours? Can I have someone save my place in line? Do I check in online? How does that work logistically?
So the hours are the same as the main courthouse hours, the clerk office hours. So if we're open 7 to 4, the Self-Help Center is open to 7 to 4, which is, I encourage, again, visit the website to get those hours of operation. So as long as the clerk's office is open, the Self-Help Center is open. As far as, we have a ticketing system, if you've ever been down to the courthouse, where you pull your number to be serviced. But your appointment is your appointment. And we encourage people to have the number to the Self-Help Center if they need to reschedule or cancel that appointment.
Wow. Now, when we talk about the Self-Help Center, is there anything that you've seen that you feel was a direct result of the Self-Help Center? Something that you truly have like your story, your warm in your heart kind of moment where you're like, that's why I did this?
I think the partnership with the family court. Right, because we have an administrative order in Orange County that you have to go to family court services. Us working together to create a seamless system so that now we know what the court is requiring. We limit the number of rejections now. And that's the whole purpose, is to limit people being turned around and turned away. But also to hear that grandmothers are able to get their grandkids enrolled in school. That is what the Self-Help Center is for, to help them get reuniting families, getting them in a situation where they can, continue to move forward and address those issues important to them.
Now, you also mentioned, in addition to the forums, this newsletter. I am an avid newsletter reader of the Clerk. I think it's an amazing publication. So kudos to whoever is putting that out. You all are doing so much. I mean, community service. You talked about the Legal Aid breakfast, but you guys are everywhere. How are you doing it? And what are some of the things that you've been really focused on having as a champion for you as clerk? So
when I became clerk, one of the first things we wanted to do was do a strategic plan around what are those issues that directly related to our business. Okay, and so access to justice is one of them, domestic violence is the other, and mental health awareness. And so those are the 3 top priorities for us when it comes to outreach and community service. And so one of the things I push in the clerk's office is Clerk Cares. If you ever see our pictures, our shirts say the Clerk Cares. And getting our employees to be involved, wanting to participate in the community, right? And so that's what we try to do. And so we work with Harbor House on all domestic violence initiatives because that is a very high volume case type. I serve on the Domestic Violence Task Force in Orange County. Anytime the mayor convenes that commission, and Harbor House. And then mental health, Central Florida Mental Health Association with mental health issues. We do a lot of webinars for our employees, making sure they're taking care of their mental health, right? And so those are 3 key areas that we focus on. But then we're also out in the community. This past Saturday, we were at the Puerto Rican Parade, right? We were also at the Popka Foliage Festival. And so what we try to do is make sure that we are also active where we have a branch, right? And so we want that Winter Park, Maitland community, Apopka community, that Winter Garden, Ocoee community, know that we're in your community and we're here to partner with you. So we're active with the chambers because we want them to know that we can do business with them, whether it's passport services or marriage licenses. So that's our focus, is to make sure that we're in the community, we're a part of this community as well, and they see us as a community partner.
Wow. I've said it once, I'll say it again. That is a lot. You are doing an incredible thing for our community. You are truly, truly, really a trailblazer. So thank you for what you've done.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. I'm Jessica Thomas, and this is The Domino Effect.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
For over 60 years, the Legal Aid Society has provided legal representation to clients on issues like those discussed in today's episode. Our mission is to ensure that every member of our community, regardless of income, has access to high-quality legal support and justice. If you're facing a legal issue, don't hesitate to reach out to the Legal Aid Society of the Orange County Bar Association by calling 407-841-8310. As a nonprofit law firm, we rely on dedicated volunteers and generous donations to continue our work. To learn how you can get involved, visit legalaidocba.org. Thank you for watching The Domino Effect. And remember, perpetual goodness goes a long way. Until next time.